Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. If you are new here, subscribe if you want, of course. Today I'm going to share with you something I never spoke about yet, which is my IVF story and my fertility journey. I was on a fence whether I should film this type of video or not. I am not a person who talks much about my private life, and I'm struggling to open up, talk about feelings or emotions. Growing up in the household where I was constantly forced to suppress my emotions and my feelings successfully prevented me from being able to be vulnerable and open with other people and myself as well. However, the more I thought about it, the more I came to the conclusion that there might be people just like me out there who go through this experience without much support and doing it all on their own. IVF is an extremely taxing process. It's very challenging physically, mentally, not to even mention how financially taxing that is. I am aware that lots of you out there can go through this process with so much pressure, having this as your last resort as well, and not having much support depending on where you are in the world, where you live in the world, which country and which culture you belong. It may be carrying extra layer of difficulty on top of that due to cultural misconceptions about IVF or lack of cultural support due to religious reason or whatever reasons might be. So I know that there are lots of couples who go through the process without family support, which is extra challenging, or just hiding the whole thing, not wanting to expose themselves to other people's opinion and the controversy they might hear about it. So hopefully you hearing my story today will feel heard, acknowledged and understood, because I know how difficult it is going through that process. And even myself, I didn't even realize, I didn't have a full understanding and knowledge of spectrum of how challenging, difficult, exhausting it is to go through that process. I thought that the most difficult part of it was going through injections, but that's the least difficult part of it, in my opinion. I will try to be the most factual as I possibly can, and I will try to take you through the whole process. So hopefully you can learn how the process looks like from my perspective. Obviously, if you want a full knowledge and understanding of a process, rely on the doctors on it. So doctors will tell you the best of what the process is. What I can tell you is I can tell you what going through the process feels like. If you are watching this video and you are in the period of your life that you are considering going down the IVF road, I hope that this video will help you prepare yourself mentally for both possible outcomes out of it. And if you are someone who is in the middle of it, I keep my fingers crossed for you. I wish you the best outcome, and I hope your journey will be successful, fruitful and rewarding at the end of it. So here is my story. The reason why I first time thought about IVF was over a year ago, and that was after I talked to a girl I know, and she told me she did a test of measuring the level of eggs remaining, because I'm 38 and I was wondering, do I have many left or not? Where does it leave me? Do I have still much more time left, or should I start worrying about the time ticking and time passing? Maybe it will be too late. So I did that test. It's just a simple blood test, nothing painful, nothing invasive, just a simple blood test. You can go and have it done. You can ask your GP for referral to have this blood test done, and yeah, just go, you have results depending where you are within 2 days. So my results turned out to be below the average of what women in my age should have. So my egg reserve count was below the average of what average 30-year-old women still have in their ovarian reserve. So that was a little bit concerning for me and subconsciously put me in this, oh, should I hurry up with that, you know, a little bit of stress mode. Should I start acting on it? Because for those of you who don't know, My husband and I are married for almost 5 years now. We never really intentionally were hoping to get pregnant like here and now, but we were never preventing it. And without even trying, I happened to fall pregnant a couple of times, but every single time it was a very short lasting and short lived, and it was a very early miscarriage or a chemical pregnancy, and it was couple of failures in that department. After a couple of months thinking about it and discussing with my husband, I thought we might as well try with IVF, because if we start trying, it might take months, and it's just time pressure adds extra layer of stress, and during this process stress is a huge factor which acts towards failure of the whole process. So we thought we'll try IVF route, because if it meant to happen naturally, it would probably have until now. So we went to Monash IVF here in Brisbane, Australia. I'll try to speed up the story here just to quickly give you an overview of the clinic. My doctor was Dr. Ben Kroon, who was amazing. He was great. I recommend him. He's not only a good doctor, but he's also a cool person. I have a lot of negative things to say about nursing staff in the clinic. Unfortunately, they really lack in terms of professionalism in that department. I unfortunately experienced the nurse repeating the recommendations from the doctor the other way around when it comes to taking medication dosage, which in my opinion is unacceptable thing to do, and lots of shortcomings on nurses' side. Unfortunately, I think they could possibly greatly benefit on retraining in many departments, because that adds unnecessary level of stress which a woman going through IVF needs the least. Obviously, this is unnecessary, something that could be completely eradicated. Of course, I understand there is a human error factor involved in everything, but they should go above and beyond trying to mitigate this type of errors that could be avoided. Having that said, back to the story. We went for initial consultation with a doctor. He recommended necessary tests that has to be run both on me and my husband. Everything was good. On my husband's side is perfect. He's very healthy, young, 29-year-old guy. So yeah, no problem on his side. We were worried about me, not only due to the egg reserve count, not only my age, but also because of my autoimmune conditions that I suffered from. I made a separate video about it, so if you haven't seen that, I will link it below in the description box. I suffer from hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's disease, which can play a part in negative outcome when it comes to fertility. So we were definitely worried about that. So the priority was to keep TSH hormone level within the range, and I had a couple of tests run. And we made sure that, my doctor and we made sure that medications are adjusted properly. This is where the nurse also made a mistake. That was the mistake I was talking about before. But overall, it was okay at the time. I was still feeling a little bit not ready. I didn't know. So I took a couple of months break since then. Just wanted to bring my stress level down and make sure my thyroid is in check and everything is a smooth sailing. So a couple months later we came back to the doctor. I was very pleased to find out that from here the process is relatively quick. I thought it's going to be like months and months and months. It might seem very surprising to you that I went into that not knowing that, because lots of women going through the process, they will do the whole entire research first. As a person of science, an educated person that I am, that's something that I thought I would do, but I didn't do it. And the reason why I didn't do that was because I didn't want to fixate over it. I didn't want to wind myself up. I didn't want to read every single article that there is out there, because there is lots of both positive and negative. And before you know it, you can put yourself in a headspace that you are just wind up and all you can think of is this. And it will cause you to be stressed subconsciously without you even realizing. And that's not what I needed, and that's what I wanted to avoid. Therefore, I fully entrusted the doctor. He's educated professional specializing in that, and I trust whatever he says, and I'll just follow all his steps and recommendations, which I did. So after running additional tests, we started what is called ovarian stimulation. and that is done by taking hormonal injections. So according to individual needs, a person is being prescribed a number of medications that are being dosed as an injection. And before I go there, I just want to let you know that I will insert here a clip showing myself having injections done by myself. So if you are a sensitive person, a person who doesn't want to see this type of things, look away for the next 15-20 seconds, but just listen to what I still have to say, but you don't necessarily have to look at the screen if you don't want to be exposed to this view. So we started ovarian stimulation, which was in my case taking 2 injections daily, 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening at the same time exactly. And that was supposed to be going from the day 1 of the cycle, which is the first day of the period, until ovulation happens. And at the last day, before ovulation happens, I was supposed to take 2 trigger shots, which will induce the ovulation. Throughout this process, it's like, what, 15 days, 12 days, depending on the person. I don't even remember what is in my cycle. Let me have a look at the app to know what is the average, you know. Around 16 days, yeah, is what it looks like. It's my duration of the cycle when it comes to ovulation. So within that time, there is, of course, a lot going on. There are injections being taken twice a day. There are hormonal injections, which obviously doesn't leave you fully unaffected. But I thought that this will be the worst part of it. And I went into that process not fearing or not worrying about anything else, because I'm not a person who really is scared of injections, who's scared of needles. I don't mind. I'm not scared of pain, really, when it comes to overcoming medical difficulties. I have a very high pain threshold and endurance when it comes to just grinding your teeth and going through it for the sake of better good. I am completely unproblematic when it comes to things like that. So I thought, how hard and how difficult can that be? People go through it all the time, everywhere. Yeah, there are lots of women doing that, so can I. Well, that is the thing that applies to lots of things in life. Just because other people go through it doesn't mean it's not hard, and doesn't mean it's easy. What was the actual real hardest part of the process? I'll tell you in a moment. It was not injections. There's harder part of it. And by the way, the point of this video is not to scare you or put you in the negative headspace, telling you how hard it is. No, it's just reality. I'm not a softie, know that. So for me to say that something is hard, it must be really hard. But I believe that you deserve to know all angles and all perspectives before going to it. I know that in many situations it will not discourage you from going through it because at the end of it is the greater goal. But I think it helps to be fully prepared, which I wasn't. So hopefully you watching my video will be more prepared and more like braced for the bad part of it, and hopefully you will have a good outcome out of it, and soon enough it will be a distant inconvenient memory. So anyway, back to the process. Within these 16 days of the cycle, from the day 1 of the cycle, the period day number 1 to almost ovulation, there are a couple of blood tests that has to be done just to monitor if the sufficient number of eggs is being produced. There are a couple of blood tests, there are a couple of transvaginal ultrasounds just to monitor the growth of how the ovarian stimulation is going on, how many eggs are being produced, if the follicles are growing, if the follicles are at the size that indicates the fact that they are mature enough, which means that they are ready to have a punction. Because sometimes there can be lots of follicles, but they can be empty or immature, which means that they don't provide any outcome, they don't provide a healthy egg that we can work with. So it's very important to monitor how the process is going. If it's going successfully, that's good enough. You can be happy and prepare yourself to egg collection soon. If it's not. It provides you enough time, and your doctor, it provides your doctor enough time on the way to adjust the ovarian stimulation, and that it was in my case. In the beginning, the doctor was able to recognize that the follicles are not growing at the speed he would wish for them to grow. Therefore, he prescribed me another injection extra halfway through so I could stimulate them more and make sure we will have plenty of juicy, plump, squeezy, moist, perfectly healthy eggs, and that was our goal. So, as I said, injecting process was not so bad. I mean, the first one, let's face it, it was uncomfortable. Like, you have to stab yourself with a needle, which is quite blunt, and after you inject the injection, it will sting. It will sting, I'm telling you. Sometimes if you will remove the needle, it will bleed, and in general, during the whole process, every single day you will become more and more bloated, uncomfortable. Some people get really, like, they feel like they have a stone inside down there. They're constipated. Sorry for too many informations, but I assume there are women mostly watching that, and if there are some husbands watching that too, or partners, you also need to know how the woman feels going through that. So, sorry. That's what it is. I didn't design the process going this way. It was someone up here, up there, to design women to suffer through the process. Why it cannot be just fun? Towards the end of the process, I felt uncomfortable, irritated, upset, annoyed, bloated, heavy, like I'm gonna be a puffed up mushroom that is ready to blow up. In general, not the best. Not the best. Needless to say, I was very happy when we finally finished all the injections and the egg collection surgery was scheduled. It is a surgery because it puts a person under the full anesthesia. So the only part that I was scared of was anesthesia. I have this feeling I am really scared of anesthesia. I'm not scared of the surgery itself, whatever the problem is. You know, I was in the hospital many times in my life, unfortunately. The only thing that I'm really scared is anesthesia. That gives me real anxiety. But, you know, the way they do it, the doctor is really cool, very funny guy, very smart. So he put me at ease. Here I am, happily ready to just, like a chicken, like a hen, lay all those eggs and finally feel lighter again. And I took this picture to send my husband just before going to a surgery room. I was very happy that the process is finally happening, and I was excited. I wanted to know how many eggs we're gonna get. Like, yeah, at this point, after this many days of injections and going through such a discomfort, it's kind of reward time is coming, you know, like positive emotions finally. Yeah, we're finally going through surgery. We're gonna have the eggs laid. We're gonna keep the ball rolling. The doctor have the very nice habit of putting the number of eggs on the hand with the pen. So when you wake up, you immediately can look at your hand and you will know without waiting for someone to tell you. So that's very nice touch, and I really appreciate him for doing that. So after I woke up from the surgery, I mean, the whole process was very smooth. The whole team of people that were there, apart from the doctor, anesthesiologist, the nurses, the head nurse, everyone was amazing. They were very professional. They all put me in a very good headspace and stress-free atmosphere. Very, very encouraging. Moving on, when I woke up from the surgery, I immediately looked at my hand and I had a number 10, as you can see here, which means that 10 eggs were collected. I was over the moon. I was super happy. I felt like a super hen. I was able to lay 10 eggs. I was like, oh my God, I've done it. It's super cool. I gave myself pats in the back. I was hyped up the whole day, and yeah, it was a really good period of the whole process. Things started going a bit worse ever since then. From that moment, things are being taken by embryology department, so they would update me every day. What is the progress on our little laid golden eggs, free range eggs? Unfortunately, only 6 eggs were good out of 10 eggs collected. Then we found out that only 4 eggs got fertilized out of 6, so we were left with 4 embryos. And right before the collection, we found out that only 1 was good. So you can imagine the joy from the peak here, that yeah, I have 10 eggs, to I'm only left with 1 embryo. That is unfortunately very, very sad and very stressful, because it means I only have 1 chance, I only have 1 go, and it adds extra layer of stress and pressure and worry to the whole process. And of course, stress is always the last thing a woman going through this process needs. But I still try to keep myself positive and hyped up, and I was like, okay, I have 1 embryo, but so what? Let's not be greedy, we only need 1 anyway, so 1 is still good, so let's go with 1, you know. And it's gonna be good, and it's gonna go well. And sorry, quick stop, I forgot to mention that the last day before egg surgery collection, there are additional 2 injections that are trigger shots to induce the ovulation. I think I mentioned that in the beginning, but here I just want to show you the pictures of what they look like. So that day I had to take 4 injections, the regular one that I used to take in the morning, the regular one that I used to take in the evening, plus 2 trigger shots, just to keep everything factual and provide you with as much information I possibly can. Finally, from here we are going into embryo transfer, so we are looking forward to this day anxiously. However, there are certain blood tests that had to be done before embryo transfer, just to make sure that everything is okay. And unfortunately, in my case, the blood test turned out abnormal when it comes to thyroid function, so that was a big blow, because that means we can't go ahead with the transfer. It's safer to bring the thyroid function back to norm, because it just puts a chances of failure higher, and having only 1 embryo to work with, it's you don't want to risk it. So we postponed it to the next cycle, which is next month. It was a little bit disappointing, but much needed. I don't know why my thyroid was going up and down. Probably, as I said, internal stress of going through the whole process. Also, probably, I keep blaming myself for it right now. Maybe it's my fault, because as an attempt to distract myself of the stress of going through the process, I tried to keep my mind off it by doing more, by doing lots of things. At the time, I went through full entire Pilates instructor course, which was actually quite challenging as well within itself. So doing 2 things at once, going through those injections and attending like 6-8 hours of a course every day, was probably tougher on my body than I knew. I remember being in the classes, like, before going to the course, I had to do injections and spend 8 hours and then do injections after I come back. And it was tougher on me than I wanted to admit, or that I was even able to realize. I remember sitting in the class one day, listening to the lecturer talking about certain technical parts of the course, and I don't remember anything out of what she said, because my whole entire energy was focused on trying not to burst into tears, because my hormones were through the roof, up and down like a yo-yo ball, jumping around like a drunk frog, honestly. That was crazy. I don't know what the girl was saying. I was trying not to burst into the tears in front of everyone, because, as I told you, I don't like to show emotions. I don't like to burden other people with how I feel ever, and I just didn't want to create a scene. But inside, I thought I will die out of holding this all in. It was really hard. So I thought I will do the good thing by distracting myself from the process, by doing something else that will keep me occupied. Now, looking back from my experience, I see it was a mistake. It was not a good decision to take. So if you are going through the process, I would probably recommend you to focus fully and entirely on the process, and maybe even take days off if you can afford to. Was it a sole reason for my thyroid go up and down and interfere with the cycle and the whole process? I don't know. Potentially, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. You know, my autoimmune condition is very vicious in itself, and I have a history of my results going up and down all my life like crazy. Maybe I contributed to it by going through this process too intensely, maybe not. I will never know. I'm trying to be at peace with that and taking the lesson, but I will never know. Anyway, enough talking on that distraction, but I think this is like also a cautionary tale for everyone to take something out of this for you. Anyway, we postpone to the next month. Again, the embryo transfer is scheduled. What happened? Again, the results was okay during the whole month. Right before the planned transfer, they are completely wrong again. The TSH is through the roof, everything is wrong. The doctor called me, he said he doesn't even know what's going on here because he actually haven't seen something like that before, that everything is good, and then before, when we just do the last test, it blows up. Then you postpone it, everything is good again, then again it's wrong, right, when you are about to do it. So he asked me at this point whether we want to continue or maybe it's better to postpone again. And that was such a horrible day, such a hard day for me and my husband. We had to brainstorm and discuss what we want to do, whether we want to try and go or whether we want to wait more. To be honest, I don't know what's the right decision at this point, because it's a risk either way. Whether we try and go ahead with a transfer, it may turn out successful and that's good, but it may turn out non-successful, and it will be very hard for me not to blame myself for making wrong decision. However, that decision might have nothing to do with the process being negative in itself, but it's very hard mentally not to try to blame yourself or postpone the thing again for another month. But that's also stressful, because the whole time from egg collection to scheduled embryo transfer, I had to take pills, hormones, progesterone. And when I said in the beginning that injections is not the hardest part of the whole process, this is the hardest part of the process. For me, the pills were the worst. They were playing up with my mood so much. They made me feel so bad. Not only emotionally, I felt like my emotions are, I don't know what's going on with me, but also it affected me physically. I had a rash all over my face. Here is the picture, but it's not even the picture that gives the justice, because it was all over my neck, all over my décolleté area. On top of that, it causes, this is a progesterone just to keep the uterine lining plump for the embryo to hold on to dear life. So it's better when it's plump and squishy, and you know what I'm saying. But it comes with so many side effects, and one of them was nasal congestion, and I constantly had a blocked nose. I felt like I had a headache. So in general, the whole process is very, very uncomfortable. And if you feel uncomfortable, keep in mind, since ovarian stimulation started, it was already like 3 months of going through all this, either injecting every day or taking pills every day, or feeling like I'm gonna blow up here, or that I'm on these pills that drives me crazy. And uncertainty of postponing also is stressful, because yeah, we can postpone again and I can still be on these crazy pills that drives me crazy, but it will not guarantee that everything will be good. So weighing all the options down, we decided that we'll go ahead with the process, hoping for the best, come to it with the positive attitude, and everything will be good. Our embryo is there waiting for us in the little freezer, and you know, we called the doctor and told him we'll try and hope for the best, we'll go. We show up on the day of the surgery. You know, this was another positive day within the whole process, because days like this gives you the boost of excitement, gives you, like, you feel full of hope, full of positive energy. We show up, we saw the doctor. The doctor is always in a good mood. He's always he's the right person in the right place for sure. And he showed us our baby. Looks like this. I saw this and I said, oh my God, how handsome. And he started laughing and he said, that's the reaction that we want, because he said, yesterday I had someone who saw that and said, oh my God, it's so ugly. Oh, it's not ugly. Look at this. It's like a handsome boy or a girl. I don't know. I have two shots, two angles, you know. Isn't it good looking? So that was our baby. I was very excited to see that, and until today I am very excited to look at it. Okay, sorry about that. Back to the story. The whole process of embryo transfer was very quick. In our case, was longer than usual. It was like around 5 minutes, and we have the whole video of it. My husband was together with me in the room recording the whole process. It lasted a little bit longer because the doctor was struggling to find needle on the ultrasound, because, you know, as he explained it to me, he's doing 3D thing on a 2D picture, so it was quite hard to see the embryo discharging tunnel, a needle.
That bright light
That
there.
bright light,
Yeah.
is it just there? Good work. Can you guys see that little
Freeze
white-
it. If you see that bright light there.
That's the embryo. Oh, wow. So hard to spot now.
Finally place it, and that was a picture of ultrasound of an embryo inside me, in my uterus, lying comfortably in my plumped up uterus, but all this progesterone that I was taking. So at that moment I felt like all the hardships were worth it, were all for a reason. Here, as you can see, is a picture of it being inside. The white spot that it's circled, it's an embryo inside the uterus. So, sitting there, having good time. Sorry about that. So back to the story. We came back home very happy, very excited, and now on to the also another hardship of the whole process. You see, as you listen to this story, this process is full of hardships and challenges that you have to face. But that was the last trait, the last home run, I would say, which is the 10-day wait. So after we walk out of the clinic, having transferred done, we were given information about the blood test, and the blood test is supposed to be done within 10 days to confirm the pregnancy. And that is the longest wait, because 10 days goes the slowest possible. It really feels like it doesn't want to end, like it lasts forever. And yeah, we were trying to stay positive, happy, hopeful, manifesting it. I was resting a lot. I was trying to be stress-free and, you know, hoping for the best. The day before scheduled blood test, I took a pregnancy test. I know you are not supposed to do it, really, not to get your hopes high or get yourself unnecessarily disappointed. But I just was really, really, really keen to see that 2 lines on the test. So I was waiting patiently for all these days, and just the day before scheduled test, I took a test, and it was the most faded line that you can think of. but it was still like, you can see a line. So I was like, oh yeah, maybe there is a chance, maybe it's going on, I can't really explain the fear of what you're gonna hear in that phone calls once you answer it. And I was trying to imagine the moment that they call me, and I was trying to visualize as they tell me the positive news. So once I saw the faded line, I was thinking, oh yeah, maybe there is a chance for positive news, Anyway, they called me. My doctor was on holiday at the time. He was away. The nurse called me, and this is another disappointment in those nurses that I told you in the beginning. They caused me so much unnecessary stress. So they called me because that was the day before New Year. They wanted to close sooner. So they called me if I am happy to reschedule my planned blood test by 1 day earlier than it was normally supposed to be. So I wanted to be cooperative and make their life easier, and of course I agreed to that. When I show up to the clinic, I was informed that the nurse already went home without even telling me or letting me know ahead, although I came on time, that I agreed with her. Up to her convenience, she went home without even telling me, so I came for nothing. And I got really stressed about that because then they closed the clinic for a couple of days for New Year, and I really wanted to have the result before that, to be able to know, not to wait extra couple of days just because she decided to screw it, literally. Anyway, they called another nurse from another department to do the test for me. She came from her lunch break and she didn't know how to do it. She tried couple times, I don't blame her because I have quite difficult veins, but she couldn't do it. So she, they are not allowed to try multiple times if it doesn't work. So she asked a head nurse to do it for her. She came, and that was the most horrible experience I ever had having a blood taken, because she also didn't know how to do it. I think that the nurses there, they don't do it on a daily basis, because the phlebotomists are doing this on a daily basis, so it's not something that she practices. Maybe she's out of practice, I don't know, but it's not the problem. I can understand that someone can struggle, and I always try to make it easy for them. Trust me, I'm very cooperative, I'm nice, I'm trying to talk to them, to just show them that I'm not one of those people who are scared of needles and gonna faint or something. I'm a very cooperative, easygoing patient. She went ahead, started doing it without having a gloves on, and then I asked her to put the gloves on and she refused. She said she can't palpate the vein without the glove on. Well, I don't care if she can't. Maybe she should attend retraining, She refused. She didn't disinfect her hand before attending the procedure, and then she refused to put on the gloves. And I don't like to be confrontational to people, but the fact that I had to ask her again and again to do the same thing internally caused me so much stress, which I should not experience there, and that's unnecessary and something that could have been avoided. Finally, she put a glove, but only on one hand, and the other hand she was still palpating, but wiping after she palpated, and then palpating and wiping. That's horrible non-compliance to procedures, to safety standards, and just like common sense logic and the treatment of a patient according to a proper course of conduct. I was grossed out by that, stressed out, and unnecessarily exposed to this stress that shouldn't happen. Anyway, back to the story. Got the results, and I was waiting for the phone call. As I told you, it's very stressful to see the phone appearing and then you answer. And the moment I answered and I could hear her voice, and I knew it's negative from the beginning, before she even got to that, because the way she was talking to me, you already know. Maybe not everyone knows, but I am someone who can read people very well. I need sometimes just few moments to talk to someone to know lots of things. The moment I heard her voice, I knew it's negative. And I sit through the whole conversation and procedures of verification, because it's over the phone information. So the whole verification, just to hear at the end that it's negative. So it was negative. Yeah, at the time that it was gone, the embryo is, I think, going into 4th week or 5th. I don't know technicalities very well to quote that at this moment for you, but the moment that they put the embryo in, it's like 2-week pregnancy, because it was done in the lab and the waiting period. And I don't want to give you the wrong vocabulary towards that, but when they put the embryo in, when they transfer the embryo, it's already like 2-week-old pregnancy, and with the wait period and everything. So it's like 4 weeks, I think, when you find out that you are pregnant after this, depending on, some doctors wait even 2 weeks. So when you find out, you're like 5 weeks. So yeah, there's a lot of hope. Failed. I wish I could provide a positive story for you today. You know, there are so many videos on YouTube, IVF success story, or my IVF story, or this or that. I wish I could be one of them for you, to be a positive light of hope, but the life is not always a fairy tale. And I'm not saying this to scare you, to discourage you, to bring negativity to your own experience. As I said, everyone who's going through this process, I acknowledge, I can see you, I feel you, and I hope for the best outcome for you. But I think going through the process, being aware and prepared for both outcome, probably saves disappointment, I would want to say. However, truthfully, nothing really can save you from being disappointed. So yeah, this is my story, negative outcome, unfortunately. I hope that hearing that will benefit you this way or another, if not with the outcome, because it's unfortunately negative. But hearing every step, detail by detail, can maybe help you to get prepared for the process, I hope. As for me, and where does it leave me in the future, I don't know, because as much as I would like to, and I did, pretend for a while that I'm fine, truthfully I'm not fine, because it takes a lot out of a person. It's very heavy experience to go through. As I said in the beginning, I was raised to brush everything under the carpet when it comes to feelings, when it goes through hardships, and just soldier on and grind your teeth and go through it. And you know, I'm doing this all my life, so naturally sometimes you have it up till here. Neither it's healthy nor it's productive, and yeah, it will bounce back at you at some point. Like it's like with the keeping a big ball, like a beach ball, and trying to push it under the water. And the more you push it, the more the ball wants to come up to the surface. And if you will push it even more under the water, it will just blow up in your face at some point. So that's what happens with not acknowledging your emotions. I was not doing that, and I think I deserve to do that as well. And this video is for you to know the process, but it's also partially for me, because it helps me to voice and acknowledge my emotions, my process. I don't know anyone personally who was going through this process. I don't know any woman, any girl that I could talk to about it in depth. So, I mean, I know of 2 people that I know of that did IVF, but we are not really that close to be able to talk about it. So I don't have anyone close that I could talk to. Where it leaves me for the future, I don't know, because it leaves me in the very difficult situation that we have no embryos left. So we have only 2 routes to go to: either keep trying naturally and hoping for the best, or going through IVF again and hope for the best. But as I said, IVF is so extremely hard, taxing, challenging, tough, expensive, and not always rewarding, as you can see. It's a tough choice to take again. So I don't know. Of course, it's hard not to blame myself and thinking, oh, maybe I should have done something differently. What if I had done something differently? Maybe I should have done that. Maybe I should not do this course as I was doing during that time. What if, you know? But thinking this way is quite unproductive. If you are a person who's going through the process, or know anyone who's going through the process, and you have any advice for me, knowing everything that you know that I went through, and you have any advice that I could benefit from as well, I would greatly appreciate that. So leave that in the comments if you have something to share. If you made it this far in the video, thank you very much. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to be in it with me and to listen to that story. And if you have something to say, you're more than welcome, and I'm open to hearing your stories, your advice, your tips if you have any. And all of you who are going through the process, once again, I wish you all happy outcomes, and I am happy for all of your success stories out there. And I think that's it. Thank you for watching. I hope I didn't miss anything. I think I did cover everything. I'm sorry for talking too much. It's hard to tell a complex story without being factual and detailed, in my case at least. So once again, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next one. Bye.